Green Nurse on the go. On the go. I think we're live finally. We did it. How many green nurses does it take to figure out technology during Mercury retrograde?
Apparently,
oh, yeah. It does. It takes a lot of cannabis and a lot of green nurses to come together to figure out how to make this work. So welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring you hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good or be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. And we often talk about things that people don't want to talk about. However, they are very important subjects that need to be discussed to decrease stigma for healing. So speaking of healing, I want you all to give a big shout out to Nurse Mark. Nurse Mark is a little under the weather, so we're sending him hugs and nugs of love. We're sending him AFA love because we want him to feel better, and I want him to join us tomorrow morning on the show. So getting back to, we talk about things that people don't want to talk about. So 2021 is the year of the nurse and the midwife, and we've been highlighting and illuminating health professionals and cannabis nurses as we are truly in revolutionary times where we're changing how we approach and take care of patients. Well, we all don't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a cannabis nurse. We just don't enter into the cannabis space or the industry that way. There's usually always a compelling story that goes along with the plunge. And basically, what makes someone enter the cannabis space as a nurse? Well, we're going to have that discussion, and I'm really, really excited to introduce our guest. Shelly Straw is a registered nurse with her bachelor's in science in nursing from the University of Kokomo, which we're going to talk about that in detail in a little bit, where she started her journey as a nurse. So since 2012, she was a critical care nurse working in the traditional system until 2017. With thoughtful consideration, she left critical care in 2017 with the lead hospitalist to go work with patients in CBD. This is a good story. Once she went down the rabbit hole, so think about this, as nurses we know, once she went down the rabbit hole and learned about the endocannabinoid system, there was no going back. As nurses, we can't unlearn the wisdom of the plant medicine and the science that exists and the ever evolution of research that is being done now. So the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. And with knowledge comes responsibility. If we as nurses know that something can relieve suffering and improve quality of life and to be used as a wellness tool, we have an obligation to share that information with our patients, friends, and families. So Shelly Straw, I'm so excited to welcome you here today. She's the president of the Hempen Nurse Company. So while she was looking for a house to grow in Michigan, she met her husband, Jason Straw, who is also a nurse, and he's going to be on in a few weeks. She sold her house, and she's been on a ride ever since. So one of the quotes I love from Shelly, and then we're going to let her speak, is this: I am only here because of the miracles God has shown me. I work for the man who put the seed in the garden. And I think Shelly will agree with me that spirituality is truly the root of cannabis care and truly how we work with patients. Let's welcome Shelly Straw to the show. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
So much. It's an honor to be here. You guys are so knowledgeable. I watch your show often when I'm downstairs watering plants. So I don't always get to respond to everything that you're saying, but I am listening.
Good.
You're so smart. I appreciate you.
Listen, I embody the plant. Here's a funny story. Trying to overcome the stigma, as many of us do. I remember going to a massage session, an energy healing massage session. And I was laying there and she was channeling some information. And she says to me, oh, Sherry, the cannabis plant's here. And I was like, oh God, does she smell me? So I was like, I thought I did a vape. I thought I did the odorless kind. I didn't think but anyway, I said, I'm a cannabis patient. I said, you might smell a little something. She goes, oh no, I don't smell anything. She goes, the cannabis plant is here with us. I was like, yes. So anyways, welcome to the show. So,
thank you.
So you mentioned in your notes to us, because I like to get to know people send us notes. And so we can craft a very thoughtful interview. So you mentioned in your notes that you're a medical cannabis patient. Was that what propelled you to become a cannabis nurse?
No, actually, my son had migraines, and we struggled our whole lives since he was a baby in and out of hospitals with his migraines. And I finally was just fed up with it. And cannabis, every time I would research, cannabis would come up as one of the best things. So when he was old enough, he smoked a joint and it stopped his migraine. And I was like, holy crap. And I, at that time, told his doctor, we'll be going to Michigan to illegally get cannabis for my son. So that's what started, or the beginning for me. But once I realized there was an endocannabinoid system, I was addicted like a drug girl. I didn't have cable at home, and I studied it nonstop. And then I got some, and I actually talked to our lead hospitalist and a critical care nurse into using it on one of the nurse's sons that had had seizures since he'd been a baby. And
Mhm.
seizures after 20 years the first day. And I was just blown away, you know, and so were they. And I kept sharing research. When the doctor would come to the unit, he would be tapping his leg at the research because there is so much research, no matter how much they lie to us. Me and Jason could do this all day long. And we look up things all day long for patients because there is just so much research.
I know.
You know, started this journey, and then I had a lot of medical issues myself and started using because throughout college I had note takers at my side.
I was going to ask you that question. You said you had professional note takers in college. So let's talk about that.
Provided by vocational rehab, you know, for my disabilities. So because when I was 38, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and degenerative disc disease. And in college, I had to get 3 cadaver bones, a plate, 8 screws, and stem cells in my neck. And my rheumatoid was so bad, I had trouble writing. So they would write and take my notes for me. I also had a motorcycle accident after I had before I'd gotten through this neck thing. I ripped all 3 hamstring tendons off my pelvic bone. So I had both these surgeries through college, through nursing school. I only missed 3 days and graduated with honors. I'm very proud to say. God just all the way through. So I was able to go on later though, because I had had these surgeries and I couldn't take opioids. I would be as sick as a dog. I would be in the hospital. It didn't matter what they gave me for pain. I would vomit. So during this surgery, we could give me nothing, but we had to pack me down ice and give me non-steroid anti-inflammatories after getting 3 cadaver bones, a plate, 8 screws, and stem cells with a JP drain out my neck, vomiting.
Oh.
So at that point, I asked the doctor, will you please give me Marinol? Because I'd seen what it did for my son. And I'm not going to lie to you, I smoked a joint, you know, because I was in pain. And I couldn't believe my life changed in that second. I'm a note takers. And in that second, I could dance in my garage, man. My life was completely different.
Isn't it amazing, Shelly? I mean, I went from suicidal to not suicidal in 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh. And
seriously. Like, and it wasn't that I wanted to die. I wanted the pain to stop. So just to think of something, a light switch, seriously, on, off, that quick, 2 puffs.
In seconds and minutes, it hits the bloodstream when you smoke.
Yeah.
And I can go from barely being able to walk sometimes, like in the morning, to dancing in my house, cleaning out my gutters, carrying my plants, doing everything normal. And I shouldn't be able to do that. We actually had my life plan, a wheelchair, and a wheelchair. I mean, we were planning on me. I was going to go back to be a nurse practitioner. But when all this research started, back to the leading research science, leading hospitalist, there was so much research. And when people knew a nurse had gotten CBD in 2017, they were literally pulling in my driveway. Okay. I mean, I couldn't go anywhere. People knew, they've heard the miracles. You know, we had people were coming out everywhere for this. MS kids, autistic kids, because we were using THC hemp in the state of Indiana, the isolates, and we were just magic. It's just really amazing what we were doing. So he backed down because Indiana started saying it was illegal. And of course, he was afraid of his medical license. But we were so far into this, there was no turning back for me because God just kept showing me every miracle he spoke of in the Bible.
Absolutely. So how did you and your hospitalist connect on the CBD? Like, so, you know, were you at the critical care nursing station and all of a sudden, hey doc, have you heard about CBD?
Yes. First of all, I was working in a unit. I didn't work in it. Was admissions. I had no idea what was going on. He came to the unit and I knew he was a holistic doctor. And somebody had told me he studied plants. And so I said, hi, you know, Dr. So-and-so, I heard that you study the cannabinoid, that you might study the cannabinoid system. And he just looked at me kind of funny because I don't think he knew what it was at that moment. And I said, cannabis, the cannabinoid system. And he was interested from then on. It was so weird. Within a week, he was giving me his phone number. We were messaging each other. We became best friends. He would come hang out at my house. I made medicine and sold it in the parking garage of the hospital I walked out of. Down in his office. I have Venmos to prove it. Swear to you. He backed out because Indiana Star Screaming was illegal and shut stuff down.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah.
So I had my stuff in a smoke shop now, because it's the only
Right.
my product. So
Say that again.
It was the only place that would take CBD
Right.
Nobody would take it. So a smoke shop took it.
Wow.
The doctor was sending people to the smoke shop to get the CBD after he quit doing it because we still had people on it. And my guys in the shop were educated. They knew about the endocannabinoid system. And they were patient. Seriously. It's horrible that we're in this position.
Right. Yeah, I know. And yeah.
They put the plant out there for the general public, instead of letting doctors and scientists and everybody have it to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the stigma, right?
Gosh. Once I heard there was a system in the human body, though, how can that not change anything?
Well, that's it. Well, that's the thing too, is the National Council State Boards of Nursing in 2018 came up with a call to action. Now, the National Council State Boards of Nursing is the nursing regulatory board that puts out the NCLEX exam for all nurses to take a test to be registered in that particular state. So they put out a 64-page document that had 6 essential areas. They pretty much stated in this document that all nurses, nurse practitioners, nursing students, advanced practice nurses must have 6 essential areas of clinical knowledge. Once I learned that, and this was back in 2018, right? You think of this, graduated from college in 1988. I got in trouble for smoking a J behind the bushes. 30 years later, they're coming out with this document. And then I go and teach at Boston College. I taught a course with some of my other cannabis nursing colleagues. Talk about a turnaround, and how plant medicine, even nursing is coming forward. As nurses, we do have an obligation. We have an obligation to share information, to teach, and it's not going away. I remember standing in the town that I lived in. They were trying to put a moratorium on medical cannabis. And I remember coming out of the cannabis closet in 2018 when I started my podcast, when, I started to feel more comfortable about working through my own stigma. And I just remember standing there in the town hall saying, listen, peeps, get your head out of the sand. Wow. This is not going away. This is here to stay. And here I am, a member of the community. I live in this town, and I'm here to tell you, I'm a cannabis nurse, a cannabis patient, an advocate, and an activist. I use cannabis every day, all day. Admitted that to the whole town. And I said, guess what? I'm alive and well. There you go. Yes. And so here it is nurses are huge resources in this space to be able to educate
doctors. Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because we just wrote the state of Michigan. We're writing the hospital here because I got food poisoning. And I went to the hospital, and I'm a cannabis user. And of course, I'm a very educated cannabis user. So they're not educated at all.
No, they're not.
No. And so they treated me for hyperemesis because I'm a cannabis user and I had food poisoning.
Wait, don't even tell me that they said that you had cannabis hyperemesis syndrome.
And I said, I've had vomiting syndrome since I have been young. When I get sick, my husband also had food poisoning at the same time with me. We made this very clear to them, and they treated me for hyperemesis. Of course, I was back the next day. Yeah, so there's a whole paper getting written to the hospital right now. And on top of that, then they said, well, we can't do anything until it's FDA regulated. It is our FDA regulated. There are medications. They give these medications. It is FDA regulated. Let's talk about it. We're in a recreational state.
So yeah, so you're in both a medical state, right, and an adult use state. Yeah, same here. So you're in Michigan.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's really, really interesting. So these hospitals, I'll tell you another quick story too that kind of goes along with that. Is we need to advocate. I remember there was a patient that came here. She was a medical refugee because she was in Ohio. She couldn't get the cannabinoids that she needed to keep herself alive. And cannabis was the glue that was keeping her together, but she needed traditional care and traditional treatment. But she was afraid if she went to the hospital in Ohio, they wouldn't let her use cannabis. Right. And so she was like, I don't know what to do. So I said, let's try Massachusetts. So I had her come to Massachusetts, and literally we got her an appointment at Boston Medical Center. And I went with her to the appointment, and, you know, with all of these things, and I educated, I said, she needs to be admitted. I said, you're looking at her, you're looking at her labs, you're looking at everything here. She looks beautiful on paper, but when you examine her, she needs to be worked up and she needs X, Y, and Z. She knew she needed it. I knew she needed it. They knew she needed it. The issue was cannabis. I said, she's not taking any pharmaceuticals. It's not that she's anti-pharma, but she needs the plant. It is the glue that is keeping her together. So I did my little spiel with my umbrella and taught and all this. And I pretty much said to them this: you have an obligation to learn this system, because every single thing that you tell your patients to do or not do affects that very system. And if you take this cannabis away from this patient, she will die. Seriously, she will not be leaving this hospital. She will die. And they took it seriously, and we came up with a plan, and they allowed her to have the cannabis throughout her hospital stay.
Oh, I'm glad they did, because I want myself, because I needed another spinal surgery about 7 years ago because of cannabis. I've been able to really put it off, but I don't want to end up with the damage that actually does something that, and with my spinal cord, that causes permanent damage. You know what I mean? So I'm going to have the surgery, but we were trying to find me a doctor to oversee my cannabis care for the hospital. And I mean, obviously I can't do opioids, and I'm a patient for that, but we're really having a lot of trouble like that. So it would honestly almost have to be a sneak. I mean, I hate to say it, but people would almost have to be a sneak for me to have a surgery. Honestly, I'd have to before I went in and, make sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the thing too is you tell them that you use it ahead of time, anyway, so they know that you're a medical cannabis patient. Because, I've heard sometimes, I'm sure you have as well, that sometimes people do need more anesthesia. You think about the receptors, right? And they share receptors. Sometimes people need more.
I get very, very sick from it. I get too much. I'll vomit for days after surgeries. I'm horrible with surgeries. That's why I put it off, it's horrible.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, because you're a nurse, you're a cannabis nurse, you have your own company, you're married to a nurse who's a cannabis nurse, who's a veteran. These are great stories we're going to get into. But I always like to ask people, and I know you feel comfortable talking about it because I know you do. I like to know how people personally consume cannabis. Like, what is their methods of administration? What's your rationale as to how you medicate? Everyone does it differently. And I just like to hear how people do it. So how do you use it?
I personally find, because I'm a high pain patient, that edibles help hold me longer, but I smoke when I get really stressed out or if I have a breakthrough pain. So that's kind of what I do. When I'm sick and vomiting, my husband will actually make me cannabis suppositories, because he's kind of a badass in the cannabis industry too. You know what I mean? Like, we've done so much research with the plant with 0 death rate,
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Yes. So you medicate multiple different ways.
I do.
Yeah.
I've even done some Delta 8, and I found it to be pretty good on my ADHD throughout the day.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I have something that I have to really focus, I'll do a Delta 8.
Yes. You know what? I had a salad before. I had a salad before we went live. So my salad consisted of Delta 8 flower, THC flower, a hybrid, CBG flower, and CBD flower. I truly made like a really nice salad. And it's beautiful. It was just, I felt like the full entourage effect. My whole body light up, feel calm, feel cool, feel collected. I feel like I'm in homeostasis.
Exactly. Like we were designed right from our maker with the endocannabinoid system does.
Exactly. So what the other thing I want to talk about, we're going to get into this, we're going to talk about Indiana and prohibition and hemp. But the other thing too is Michigan comes into the picture. So when I was looking at the notes that you sent me, you have a love story to talk about, and this is great. So was this a 2020 love story or 2019?
Yeah. 20.
So a COVID-19 cannabis love story.
Yes.
So I think, and I really, really, really think that our viewers are going to hear it, because it's a beautiful story.
Okay, I will.
So let's talk about it. How did you meet your husband?
Well, it's really funny because I was homeless when I met Jason. A lot of people don't know that, but I had sold my house and I had all my money in the bank to come grow. My best friend grows medical cannabis here. She used to be a special ed teacher and she has for 8 years. I was coming to join her. So I had all my money in the bank. Things were going on. I went down to do a couple, some activist work, and had met Jason there. And then he finally, Indiana Normal had been pushing him to come to my office for a long time. And Jason had got divorced in the time since they've been pushing him, and he still hadn't got here. So he came to my office, we met, and we just kind of hit it off. And due to some bad, the COVID shutting the housing market down, I couldn't find any place to live. Jason was homeless himself too because of stuff from the COVID. And I didn't even want to buy furniture because I had a plan and I had saved enough money to come to Michigan and set to grow and live for 2 years without working so I could learn. You know what I mean? I saved my trash in my whole life to come to. And when I met Jason, you know, it just, I would have been doing this by myself, and I had custody of my grandson and my puppy and I just kept praying. This is so crazy. God just said, I need a soldier. I've been single for 16 years. And in that moment, God sent me the captain, military captain. He's a cannabis nurse from the state of Indiana, the vice chair of Indiana Normal. So, and
there you go. There you go. Captain Jason Straw, right? President of Indiana Normal. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that's interesting too is what you wrote in your notes, is that, you know, he was not a cannabis user, and he had only tried cannabis once before meeting you.
He was on some CBD, but then my CBD worked he liked mine a little better, you know, on his GI issues. And he had not used cannabis. And I was like, what is wrong? You know, marijuana. I said, what is wrong? Like, you have been advocating for so long. Jason felt that he would almost be betraying or dishonoring to use cannabis. And of course, I was like, are you kidding me?
Wait, say that again. So Jason felt that he would be dishonoring who?
Honorable because of being in the military. It would be breaking the laws in Indiana because we were still in Indiana at that time. But he was still on some gabapentin and he had a delay. And when he got on cannabis and he got off the gabapentin, and that was the last pharmaceutical. Well, he still was using a little bit for the GI stuff, but my CBD helped control that. And so that was the last pharmaceutical. And it was like Jason just kind of started coming to life again. You know?
There you go.
Yeah, we had so much in common. And between us, we have like 11 years of research on cannabis. So
it's so great. So we're really, really excited. So Jason came on at In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio over the winter. And it was a great show. So we're going to have him on next week with the following week. So that's going to be really, really excited to hear his story. So he's got a really powerful story too.
So now we're medical refugees in Michigan.
That's what I was just going to talk about next. To tell us about your recent move and grow in Michigan. So you were in Indiana, moved to Michigan because you're medical refugees, because you need to be able to make your own medicine, grow and make your own medicine, and to be able to take care of yourselves and the patients that you service, correct?
And we were afraid, of course, Indiana is the state that arrests more per capita than anybody in the country, I believe, Jason.
Oh, they do?
For cannabis, yes. And so it's a pretty scary state to be even doing my job, you know, and God just kept showing me that. Here we are, right, Jason? Jason's sitting over here. He's hanging.
Yeah.
So
that's so exciting. So here's the other thing too. So you've been on a really cool journey. You know, you've been on a cool journey and adapting and changing. So you had a company prior.
Gosh, yes.
To your second company, which is Mark and Nurse Company, correct?
Yes.
So tell us about your first company, which obviously led to this company. What happened?
Well, the first company, you know, it was a time building it because of discrimination and everything, but we just were rocking that, you know, with education, and we did a weekend giveaway. Okay. So my company and my personal assistant, she was cute anyway, a cute little, you know, younger girl. And we had the cannabis leaf going. You know, everybody thought we were pretty cool after a while. At first we got, you know, kind of, well, anyways, this company, we ended up with having some of our, just from Facebook, some of our videos go over like 50,000, but we were hitting the URL of a big multi-million-dollar company. And even though my company was registered with the state of Indiana. I wasn't federally registered. They came after the company.
Oh.
At my first company. Yes, it's been a crazy run. We've had accounts shut down by Indiana, like stuff froze up. We've had not been able to ship through the post office. We've had just thing after thing after thing with the company.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so
all those hits, and I'm still here. They've taken, with COVID, all this going on because.
So how did that play out? So what happened? So how did it play out? So what do you just, did they just call you up one day and say, hey?
They called me up one day and they said, hey, I don't know who you are, but you can't use that name. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but this has been my name since 2017. They sent lawyers after me. And I'm a single mom. I couldn't fight them. And I looked at my personal assistant. I was like, well, God needs us to make a new name for the company.
There you go. What you did, right? What you did what the cannabis plant would have wanted you to do, which was to adapt.
Yep, I adapted. And I think the nursing thing is even, so I had to put the nurse. So now I got the nurse in there. So at first I was kind of like, as a nurse, should I be out healing people? It's just kind of a weird line. You know that.
Yeah, no, yeah. I do. I truly do. So what types of patients do you work with?
Everything. I actually go into homes of people that deal cannabis. I get to go in and out of their homes freely. I can just say, hey, I'm in town, what's up? And I can just go over and we'll sit and talk about patients. So we talk about, maybe how the seizure patient may just do a third of a cookie a night. And that would seizures forever, or whatever, you ask them more continuously. So I am a ground zero person. I'm at the festivals. I'm at the events. I'm at the lakes with the people. I'm, every place that we need to be. So we have every type of patient. We work with a lot of veterans with PTSD. We have animals. We work with.
I was just going to say that, you mentioned that you work with animals and that you have 2 veterinarians who refer to you.
Yep, 2 veterinarians. I have several doctors that refer me patients, several. We just recently, 2 weeks ago, we had somebody message us about CBD. We did a consult and, got them a product out. And they were asking me, they were like, well, how do you know my doctor? And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't know your doctor. I get doctors refer patients to me now. We've been doing it since 2017. And we have lots of nurses that buy it for their husbands and their families and all over the country. We're shipping critical care nurses in Tennessee, it just everywhere. So.
Oh my God, that's just amazing. You know what? I want to put
kids. We have kids, dogs, lots of seizure patients. We have a child that was biting over 100 times a day in a classroom, and in 2 days on isolate CBD oil was down to 7 or 8 bites, and the school actually called the family to ask what happened. We have a PANS disease, child controlled. She was the only one in the state of Indiana controlled. We have an MS nursing home patient. We have just everything, anything, lots of seizures, lots of tremors, lots of anxiety. Yeah. Sometimes they can come in the office just stressed out, and we can actually give them a sample dose or ahead of it, and they're just instantly like, calm down.
Yeah, I know, right? I got to tell you, I want to hear it. This is a story. Here's a story for you. I love telling stories. This story actually made me weak. So I was working part-time, besides doing the consulting and the media and all that, I was working part-time in a CBD store. And I got a call from a girl who had just gotten out of she committed herself for the weekend because she was suicidal. And basically they wanted to start her on multiple pharmaceuticals. And she's like, I don't want to start pharmaceuticals. I want to use something natural. So she stayed all weekend, and they basically discharged her and said, well, why don't you Google CBD and see if you can find a CBD store? She Googled CBD, ended up finding that CBD store, calls me on the phone, and I said, come in. So the part that was really nice about that CBD store that I worked in was that they have samples. And so I was able to provide her with a sample. And literally, I just said, she came in, I could just see she was scared. She was about to go into a panic attack. And she just calmly just educated, showed her the samples. I said, we can talk about it while, you experience it. And she sampled a tincture, and she did 1 puff, an inhalation of full spectrum CBD. And we started talking, and I could just see all of a sudden, like things just start to melt away. she sat there and she started crying. Okay. She says, she got mad. Kind of reminded me of me. She goes, what the fuck? I just spent the whole fucking weekend in the hospital asking for help.
Yep.
All they wanted to do was schlep me pharmaceuticals. I don't know you from a hole in the wall. I Google CBD, I call up, you invite me in, and within 10 minutes, I feel different.
It's just, it's hard to believe. It's like magic. I just had a girl get completely off methadone with it. We went through her whole methadone treatment with her with CBD, and she's fully off of it now. What else? I was Jason. Jason, what else? We have so many crazy conditions, like lots of insomnia. Lots of people with insomnia.
You know what? I like talking insomnia because insomnia, I find so many different issues with people that are using cannabis and how to use it. And do you use stacking? Like, so I'm curious, how do you work with patients with insomnia? Because it's a really good topic.
Yeah.
Because a lot of patients, I've had patients say to me, oh my God, Sherry, I did this and it did the opposite. It stimulated me. So I was laying there in bed with my eyes closed and I felt like I was in a movie and I was vibrating. So it's like we educate on the salad approach, the stacking in the salad.
A lot of people, some people will take the CBD at night and it helps them sleep better. I'm kind of like you, and I heard you say this before, it gives me more energy throughout the day.
Me too.
Personal experience on it, because it kills my pain, takes my inflammation out, and then I feel good for the day,
Right.
If I have the inflammation, I don't feel well, I'm tired, I don't, it's all part of it. If we can
yes. It's an autoimmune, so people need to know. So rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune condition.
Yes.
So we both have autoimmune conditions, chronic myofascial pain, the joint swelling, right? The pain flares, and then it affects your other systems too, because for a chronic pain patient, if I start to get into a pain flare, it affects my ability to eat.
Yeah.
Pain gets so bad that you get nauseous, so really being on top of it, we advocate for cannabis, but as a medical cannabis patient, we might goof off and stuff and talk about stuff, but really we're taking it because we want to feel good. We've suffered. I mean, just think about it. Suffered. And the last thing we want to do is to put something in our body that's going to make us feel worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Even the GI issues, like Jason and I just did research on that, and there was like 127 conditions that research confirms that helps CBD or cannabis helps on. And, so many people walk around with the GI issues, and these are one of the things, the endocannabinoid system deficiencies are things that people can't get diagnosed.
Exactly.
Like the migraine headaches, the fibromyalgia, and the GI issues. And they walk. And we just give them, let's try this pill, let's try this. And then they start removing organs. Let's take out your gallbladder. I'm just amazed by this medical system, Sherry. Are you that like, hey, let's just
cut it out. Let's just get rid of your body parts and put drugs into your body, right? Give you more chemicals.
Or take it. That doesn't even work. And then people are still sick. So we have seen the craziest stuff with the GI issues, and with cannabis, like we thought when we started using CBD, we knew we were going to control pain, we were going to do this. But as time has gone on, we've also gotten better other ways. It's not controlled. I no longer take allergy medicine.
Me neither.
You don't either?
Asthma, no inhalers. Oh, off allergy medicine. I've got asthma, allergies, migraines. Polycystic ovarian disease, seriously, anxiety, depression, polymyalgia rheumatica, panic disorder, agoraphobia. I got the list to the store.
Complex medicines, like they just keep getting better and better and better. Because let's face it, these receptors are all through every organ in your body, correct?
Yeah, true. So, exactly. So here's the thing too with the gastrointestinal system, which I find is so interesting. Is, and how important it is, because our enteric nervous system from our mouth to our butt communicates, right, to our central nervous system via the endocannabinoid system. So it's like that second brain, right? And so gut health, improving we talk about the microbiome. The microbiome, we talked about nutrition and the microbiome all week long. The microbiome is its own universe. It's its own universe of healthy bacterial, fungus, and microbes, right? This environment that we have that keeps our body in homeostasis. And when that's off, it causes a lot of other things to be off. Brain fog, cognition, issues with depression, with anxiety. Nutritional psychiatry is a real thing. So you improve the health of your microbiome, you're going to improve your central nervous system. You're going to improve, your decreasing inflammation. So it all ties in together. That's why we talk about that. It's not there right now, but my umbrella, that's usually right there. The endocannabinoid system. I like people to imagine, when we're talking about the endocannabinoid system, because it can be a little abstract, and I've got ADHD. So I was like, God, if I'm not getting it, then I know other people aren't going to get it. So I was like, what can I think of, or what can I come up with that can kind of be a good analogy? And I was like, the umbrella, because all of the spokes of the umbrella are different organ systems. The fabric pieces that attach to the spokes of the umbrella are those neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to the spokes of the umbrella to tell our umbrella to either do something or not do something. So the endocannabinoid system blankets right on top of our umbrella. We have cannabinoid receptors on all the spokes of our umbrella and at the neurotransmitter signaling junction sites. So we produce those internal endogenous cannabinoids to shower on our umbrella to keep our umbrella going up and down nicely. So if you think about it, we make components in our body like the plant. If we don't make enough, what happens? We don't get rained on. Messages don't get where they need to go. And if messages don't get where they need to go, what happens? Our body gets confused, fucked up, tries to figure it out on its own, and doesn't do a good job. Starts to, poke around. Oh, I think I'll do this to try to autocorrect. I'll try to do that to autocorrect it. Before you know it, you've got multiple systems that aren't communicating effectively, and your umbrella is not going up and down nicely. So that's what's so cool about the endocannabinoid system, is then how and why it works on so many different conditions at the same time. It's that on-off switch, on-off. And what I love too, here's a good story we're going to share. Part of your note said that you had a discussion with Raphael Mechoulam in Israel. And so he's the great grandfather of cannabis. Mark met him in Israel. I actually met him over LinkedIn. So I want to hear your story. In a million years, I had a hypothesis. Okay. So as I'm working with cannabis and working with patients, and I'm like, my cannabinoid requirements are changing. Things are changing. I'm not needing as much of that, and I'm needing a little bit more of this. And I was like, our cannabinoid requirements must change over time as we change, right? Because everything's changing. So it would make sense and so I'm like, I'm going to just text him on LinkedIn and see if he answers. And he did.
He did, didn't he? Well,
he replied back and he confirmed it. He pretty much confirmed. He said, yes, cannabinoid requirements change over time as you start to nourish your endocannabinoid system. And he did provide some links to research, which was really cool. The second question I asked him, there was a bunch of stuff that was going on all through social media about how CBD can convert to THC in your stomach.
Oh.
There was CBD companies that were trying to market their CBD brand by stating that if you took their CBD brand, it wouldn't. So this whole hype. You know what happens before you know it. Things go viral. Oh, you can't take CBD because it's going to convert to THC in your stomach, and he basically said bullshit. He's like, nope, not true, can't happen, and then listed the reasons why. So what I love too was that you had a year-long interaction with him. So tell me, how did that start? Because Dr. Raphael Mechoulam is the doctor that isolated the THC molecule in 1964, and he's 90 years old. Right? He's an old guy, and he is engaging with people across the world that he doesn't even know.
Exactly.
Right? Well, so tell me the story.
I felt so alone, Sherri. I was being made. People didn't take cannabis serious, and we're just healing people right and left. And I'm desperate. And me and my personal medical assistant, which I had at my side for a couple of years till COVID hit. We researched a lot about the endocannabinoid system and cannabis, and of course Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. And I felt so lost when this doctor left me alone out there in this world, and all these miracles are going on. And I'm a nurse. I'm scared. I'm not scared of all the cannabis. I've seen with the doctors I worked with, he had me give it to a little one for acid reflux, stopped it instantly, like things like that. We weren't afraid because we learned, and we had so much research about it. But when he left me and they kept setting the stuff down, and Indiana was yelling it was illegal, I had patients that I needed answers about. I wanted to know. And I can't get them exactly what they need in a legal state, but I at least wanted to know if my MS patient, does she need THC too? I also wanted to ask him questions like, could we run out of anandamide? It's and apparently.
What did say that again?
Only made on demand.
Well, yeah. So here's okay. So you ready for this?
Yeah.
I can for a statement of fact. Honestly, I swear to God, I think I ran out of anandamide, and here's the reason why. And if doctors knew about cannabis as medicine, they would have picked up on a couple of things. Prior to me getting sick, the only thing I had wrong with me is I had a history of migraines, blank, blank, endocannabinoid deficiency, ADHD, blank, blank, endocannabinoid deficiency, polycystic ovarian disease, blank, blank, click, click, all of that. So if they had seen that and knew, right? Because everything I did every single thing the doctors told me to do, the surgeries, the pills, the therapies, the doctors, the specialists, plus all of the other holistic integrative functional health tools that exist: chiropractic, acupuncture, nutrition, homeopathy, essential oils, massage therapy. I couldn't get on the floor to do yoga. I was in too much pain. Literally everything, shamanic work. I did all of it, Ayurvedic herbs, potions and lotions. And I thought I was going to need to get an exorcism. I thought I was possessed. So I know for a fact, because there wasn't anything else I could do.
Yep.
And then when cannabis came into my life, it was I'm going to snap right in front of the camera, because that's exactly what it was. It was that fast.
It's so sad, Sherry. Do you know how many of my family members I think back to? Because I see, I've had Alzheimer's dementia patients that were in the nursing home in stage. Me and this doctor actually spoke about that on tape, that were back home from the nursing home. Okay. So, I mean, we've seen it all. We just have really just seen it all. And I just, to see back, to know this and to look back and think, my grandpa had this, and my aunt suffered in the nursing home with this, and to look at all these things, it pisses me off.
It pisses me off too. I mean, I look at it, even, yeah. And the suffering, here we are with why, when I look at, we went into the medical profession to what? To relieve suffering and improve quality of life. The essence of nursing is human caring. Absolutely. And it's about caring for the entire human experience, not a body part, not a symptom, not that mole, not that ingrown toenail, right? Everything, mind, body, spirit, the whole package, the whole person. Yep. Right. And that's what's missing. So that's what we're doing as nurses. Plant medicine is introducing spirit, the spirit of plant medicine, and teaching people to reconnect to a part of themselves that has been disconnected.
Exactly. I basically asked Raphael Mechoulam questions like, will it damage the brain? Is it hard on the lungs? Things, because we were branching out, my girlfriend grew medical cannabis, and we got brain tumor babies and, babies, brain tumors and everything at this point.
Right.
Dealt with. Okay. And so it was frightening. So I was asking him questions, because I thought, by God, he's the man I'm listening to.
Yeah.
Nobody else, so yeah, for 1 year he answered me back. And the first time he did, I walked in my office and my personal assistant was sitting there, and she had this big grin on her face, and she had it in her hand, because she knew how much I idolize this man. Like, he's like, going to a concert.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? And I walked in the office, and she's like, he emailed you back. And I was like, Raphael Mechoulam emailed you back. And I bawled. I literally bawled.
Oh, see, isn't that just like, talk about a saint, right?
I'm so alone out there, like, doing, like, because everybody had, they're trying to pull out the shelves, and doctor quit working with me. And, I'm worried. My dad's going, the federal government's they're coming into town. They're coming to get your CBD oil. You don't understand. Like, my dad is not even about the cannabis. But Jason did soften it a little bit, because the military captain married me. What can he say? He does cannabis.
Right. Exactly. Wow. So I have a question. So out of your interactions with Dr. Raphael Mechoulam over the course of a year, what was what did you learn the most? What did you learn the most from him? What was the aha moment with him? Like, what did he teach you that you were like,
how we would test the system in the future? It's the anandamide. That's what he came.
Say that again.
The anandamide. When I asked how we would test the system in the future, and to hear a simple blood test.
Right. The anandamide molecule.
Was like are you shitting me? Like we seriously could probably do a blood draw or a finger prick and just be able to tell what
To test the amount of anandamide that's in someone's system.
to know.
So basically, think about this. There could be a diagnosis, endocannabinoid deficiency.
Absolutely.
Right? That manifests as what? So that literally one diagnosis, endocannabinoid deficiency manifesting as migraines, ADHD, anxiety, depression. Right? You think about it.
It regenerates my disc. So I mean, it can do everything. So
Right. Wow. So powerful. That is really cool. So that's how we're going to be able to, in the future, is to be testing people's anandamide levels. That's really interesting.
And then, to learn, people say, oh, that people might get schizophrenia from the cannabis or, whatever. And that's not, from him asking those questions. It's just people, if they get too much THC, like anything else, they have a little bit of psychosis. They freak out for a little bit. They're going to go back to the state when that's done. And that would happen with anybody, with any drug that they got too much of. Anybody,
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
He felt safe when I could ask him questions about developing brains, and I could ask him about the lungs. Does it damage the lungs? Well, it doesn't cause cancer. So no, it might irritate your lungs, but it doesn't cause cancer.
Yeah. The developing brains I thought was very interesting because the prefrontal cortex isn't developed until we're 25, 26 years old. So you think about teenagers, right? Teenagers, if they don't have a developed prefrontal cortex and their ability to reason with logic. So what are they running on? They're making all their decisions based on emotion, right? So the amygdala is the area of where they do most of their decision making, and it's all based on feeling. So it's really important that we don't want to, stop that development. So when we're working with kids, right, it's always risk benefit ratio. What's going on with the kid, with the child? Is the risk of using this? What's the risk? What's the benefit? And what are the other choices, right? And then you make this decision based on that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, it's the cannabinoid system is clear down to the reproduction of the human. So I just believe a lot of birth defects from straight on up are just deficiencies throughout this. I mean, I there's so many endless possibilities to this, and this. Like
I know. I'm like, it's like
it's frightening.
I know. The learning is ongoing. Let's just put it this way. I'll have a job for the rest of my life. I look at it. And that's the part that's great is the plant excites me. It shows me something new every day. It teaches me something new every day. And I'm excited to report it. It's the most misunderstood plant in the entire world. It's opening up eyes. It's opening up ears. It's opening up our senses. It's opening up people's lives to something new and different. And, decreasing stigma around it is truly the way to go. And that's why we do this. This is why we share our stories. I want people to come on that are sharing their stories that you would never think that would use cannabis. And I think
you talk about the stigma. I actually emailed several preachers because I was excited, Sherry. I saw all these miracles they talk about in the Bible. I saw the blind. I saw glaucoma people seeing. I saw people walking. I saw everything they speak of. I was excited, and I thought I was doing it THC free. I'm like, hello, hey, preachers, look, all the miracles. Not one of them would email me back. So talking about the stigma.
So here's the thing. This would be really funny with the preachers. So I've done a couple of shows with the nun. So there's a nun, new people that are watching that are out there, and she's given total permission. She actually participated in one of my presentations that I did for the American Cannabis Nurses Association, which was Spirituality is the Root of Cannabis Care. So this nun came on, and the nun's story was the story that decreased the stigma around my mom using cannabis. And she got off of 400 micrograms of fentanyl. A nun that weighed 100 pounds soaking wet. Wow. Had chronic regional pain syndrome. She had an internal neurotransmitter stimulator pump to stimulate her neurotransmitters to help relieve pain. She was on multiple pharmaceuticals, over 10 of them. And one of them was a fentanyl patch that was 400 micrograms of fentanyl that she changed every 36 hours. So this woman, and she was in bed for 20 hours a day, sick, suffering, dying, depressed, poor thing. Cannabis came into her life, changed her life, and a year and a half came off of all the fentanyl. She's still on some of her other pharmaceuticals, but off of all opioids. And so, basically Sister Suzanne she even says, I'm the least person that you would ever think that would use cannabis. And, and every time I interview her on the show, it's just really fun just to get her answer, because people need to know, and we're playful about it. We're respectful of religion and beliefs, but it's important for people to know that, you know what, let's hear what a sister has to say. And so I asked her at the end of one of my interviews, I said, Sister Suzanne, what would Jesus say about all this cannabis? And she's like, Sherry, Jesus would say, what the frig did it take you so long to use this God-given plant that I created for you? And then she said, Jesus would expect us to use it, and he would think it would be a sin if we didn't. So she's like, so, really, it's, I'm completely over the stigma. Really, I'm over it. It's this plant has not killed anyone. We make components in our body like the plant. That to me was a shoe drop. That to me, once I learned that, this got banned on TikTok. I had a sign. I should hold it up one day. It's a sign that shows the THC molecule and the anandamide molecule. And I had a sign that was going to music, and they banned it. They said illegal activities, a molecule that we make in our body. So yeah, so there's, it's really interesting. So finally, I do want to ask you this question because it has to do with nurses. What do you think that nurses bring to the table in the cannabis space? What do you think?
In time, I mean, at this point in time, they're doing everything. The nurses here in Michigan have even educated the bud tenders. So the bud tenders know more than the doctors in the state of Michigan, thanks to the nurses.
There you go.
So
the nurses are teaching the bud tenders. You hear that, everyone? Right?
Yep.
It's important.
They have a mission for the bud tenders that they have to pass a test to be a bud tender, but we don't have anything for the doctors.
Interesting. Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Really interesting.
So they're going to lead the way. We're going to hopefully keep pushing the doctors and educating people and patients, because I feel like if your doctor doesn't know in 2021 that we have endocannabinoid systems and they're going to give you shit when you go in, you fire them, get another one. That's
yeah. Oh yeah. You have an obligation. You do. You have an obligation. Just because you didn't learn it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. And people are so loyal to their doctors, and I'm floored sometimes by it. They'll say, well, my doctor doesn't believe, he doesn't understand. And I'll say, well, I'm really sorry, but your doctor's not really just your friend. I mean, cannabinoid system at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it comes down to, and I'll say this, I'm like, if the system that regulates all of the other systems in the body is the most important system, doesn't that make sense that that's the system we take care of first?
Absolutely.
The endocannabinoid system is the most important system. You take care of that system, everything else is going to fall into place.
I believe it's the biggest set of receptors in the human body. I do. I believe it's the system with the biggest set of receptors. Me and Jason have been really trying to figure it out. It's hard to get everything down and get all the exact answers, in this world. But
the part that's so cool too about that is the body can produce receptors, right? So can like start producing other receptors. What I find fascinating, I'll tell you, the thing that I found the most fascinating was when learning how to decrease people's THC consumption, how to decrease their tolerance. And what I learned was really fascinating. When people stop taking THC, the body gets scared and starts to produce more receptors looking for it. Right?
Body produces them anywhere that they're needed, so that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. So in migraine headaches, right? So they've showed radiographic images of people that have migraine headaches, and it shows an overabundance of CB1 receptors in the brain actually looking for the anandamide molecule. Yep. The body's saying, "Where are you? Where are you?"
This organ. So yes, isn't that crazy?
It is. It's fascinating, right? And just to think that there's something that grows in the ground that can be made into multiple different things. How cool is it to not have to rely on a watch, a pill bottle, a pharmaceutical, a doctor, a pharmacy, co-payments, right? You think about it.
It's amazing.
One plan to cover the entire umbrella.
I just
boom.
People could use it. The government's also got people tied up that, nobody, which the federal government can use it. And there's all these stigmas, and now they won't use it in the nursing homes in Indiana because they haven't been educated, and people accidentally got THC, and I just wish there's so much education that needs to be done, even on even though it's just the CBD right now with patients, the patients to be able to get things and
Absolutely. So that is why we do what we do here as nurses. And the part that's really exciting, and I'm going to have to put a link up in the comments. So people that are new and watching, so we have a community. So holistic caring and the green nurse community. So if you got, and it's free. So I'm going to put a link up, free community for you all to come. Like if Facebook ever got shut down, if Instagram got shut down, if the YouTube got shut down, we need to be able to continue to educate. So I'm going to put a link in there for you and Jason to even join as well. Free community, ability, place to educate, uncensored. How cool is that? An uncensored community where you can really share all of this information. And it's Holistic Caring Network, and it's going to be powered by the Green Nurses. I just joined and I'm so excited. It's a really cool platform. Yeah. So I also wanted to, as we wrap up, I want to know where people can find you. And I want to put it in your website. You have a website, right? Because it wasn't in the notes, so I wasn't able to.
Facebook page. And I really haven't been working the Facebook page, just to be honest, because we've kind of built a clientele. And now that we're on this side and we're getting growing, I'm allowed to donate my cannabis products.
Nice.
And I'm going back to be a consultant. So
great.
Class under Dr. Solka. Dr. Solka. He teaches a class on dosages and milligrams and
nice.
terpenes and administration of cannabis products. So that's
nice.
what I'm going to take. And
excellent. Excellent.
Forward. If I wish the medical field would join us, and we're going to keep trying to educate them.
Excellent.
People are sick, and we just helped a cancer patient last 2 weeks ago pass away humanely with cannabis. You know, we're donating right now 2 ounces and 2 jars of oil to a cancer patient tomorrow.
That's great.
I'm honored. Just honored that God has blessed me so much to be able to do that.
Oh my God. And I am honored to have been able to interview you so you could share your story. Seriously, it's a compelling story. It's a beautiful story. It's a story of the wisdom of the plant working through you, right? Think about it. How the plant has totally opened up your heart to so many different things and how it's healed you. And now you want to share that gift with other people through education. And
because sometimes the things that you see from it were really hard to believe, and you know that too. So you start questioning, wow, am I crazy? Like, is this real? You know, so
I got to tell you, I mean, is this real? You know, sometimes I pinch myself, you know, sometimes I feel good, like so good that I wonder if I'm like, is this real? Am I really feeling this good? I mean, yeah. And so, you know, and then just to just be so thankful that there is something that we can take that isn't providing all those side effects and debilitating and making me sicker, and you know what I mean? And
actually works.
It actually works. And it doesn't work to mask it. It works to correct it. You know, I mean, that's the part that I find is so cool. Is it's just not only, you know, working on symptoms, but it's going into the deep cause. It's auto-regulating your body so it can self-correct and heal. And if you give your body the correct tools, it knows what to do. And cannabis is one of those tools for sure.
Yes. We are designed brilliantly if our body work right, you know, if our bodies would work.
And that's just something that's so cool too. And it sounds really hokey, but I truly believe it. This plant is so intelligent, and it's almost as if when we consume the plant goes where it needs to go, does what it needs to do to bring homeostasis and balance to our bodies.
I believe that 100% after all the stuff that I've seen, and I mean, since 2017, my dad would argue, cannabis doesn't do everything. I would say, Dad, it isn't.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, you know, Shelly Straw, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, for joining us. Let's plug your company one more time. You're on Facebook, and I put the link. Yep, there you go. Hemp and Nurse. I love that. Happy Hempy Hump Day with the Hemp and Nurse.
Right.
Yep. And so in the notes in below, if it's not accurate, I'll go and fix it. But your Facebook page should be there. So if people want to reach out to you, and I'll go back into the broadcast and make sure I tag you in the broadcast so people can reach out to you directly. We had some technical difficulties earlier, but that's okay. When we were also chatting. So thank you all for joining us tonight. It's really been a pleasure. Shelly Straw, I bow to the light in you. Thank you for stepping up, for showing up, for embodying the cannabis plant and changing lives. Really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a great journey. God. Shows me
Yes.
pocket.
Yes. You want to say goodbye to everyone? Any last words of wisdom for our viewers?
Bye, and regenerate your endocannabinoid systems, right?
Yes. Live your best life, help others do the same, and decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Good night, everyone. We love you. Bye-bye.